What's up guys, Nukin here, and I'm back with another Galaxy Heroes video, and this is the Sith raid. It's here! This is phase 1 where you tackle 2 Sith assassins and Darth Nihilus. I can't wait to break this down with you guys. We're going to talk about some basics about the Sith raid bonuses, phase abilities, and we're going to take a look at footage from phases 1, 2, and 3. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, or if you have any extra questions that I do not cover in this video. But yeah, this is going to be fun. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned anything or if you liked it, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the Sith raid. Alright, so here are some key points that I want to summarize to everyone about the Sith raid, so let's break it down together. So first off, in both the Rancor and the Tank raid, there was an escape ability where you could take out your hero from battle and reuse him again, which was important in the heroic raid sometimes to pull off certain strategies. You can't do that in the Sith raid anymore. There is no escape, so once you send in a hero and they've done their damage, there's no way out. But you can still retreat, which is basically the only thing that you have available to you. If you're getting bad RNG, you're getting bad luck, and you want to try again, or you want to, maybe you didn't like the team that you're using, without posting damage, you can hit the retreat button and you can start fresh again. So you can still retreat, but you can no longer escape your heroes to reuse them again in the battle. Now, speaking of escaping and retreating, when you were escaping in the other raids, the Rancor and the Tank raid, there was a button that you would actually have to physically press. Since there is no escape, that button is still there, but it is being changed into a specific ability. So there's 4 different phases in the Sith raid, and each phase is going to have a unique special ability. So we'll cover that a little bit later in the video, but that is what is replacing the escape button. The next point is about raid tiers. So the first raid, the Rancor, came out with 7 different raid tiers, the 7th and the final one being the heroic version of the raid. The Tank raid came out next, and then it had a normal and a heroic version, so only 2 tiers. The game designers are going back to their roots, and there's going to be 7 different raid tiers for the Sith raid, the 7th tier being the heroic version. And for my last point here, heroes can have multiple passive buffs. So what does that mean? So there were bonuses in the Tank raid. It was the first raid that had that. There was a bonus for Jedi, and there was a bonus for Jawa. So the Sith raid is continuing that trend. There will be factions that have passive bonuses, but they're adding to that. There's going to be a borrowing of territory battles, how there's galactic heroes that are going to get some bonuses, and then even a specific role, healers are going to have a bonus of some kind as well. So if you have a character that fits into multiple categories, they're going to be able to reap the benefits of all the buffs, so not just one, so that's good. And actually, let's go into talking about what bonuses you're going to get in the Sith raid with your collection. And here we are with the raid bonuses. So we have factions and heroes and roles, so let's get into it. So for the Sith and the Night Sisters, they're gonna have this sort of dark side rivalry offensive buff. So the specifics I'm not aware of. They've been kind of tweaking the raid, so I didn't want to post what exactly it is because it's probably going to be different than what I heard, but it's going to be offensive in nature, and basically any sort of faction that has a bonus might be desirable to grind. But make sure that you find out exactly what these bonuses are when the raid goes live. So Night Sisters and Sith are going to have an offensive buff. Now Bounty Hunters are the 3rd faction, so that's interesting that they're adding an extra faction. The Tank raid only had 2, so now we have 3, and the Bounty Hunters are going to have something called Capture and Kill, and it's also going to be offensive in nature. It's going to be about stacking and triggering and defeating enemies. And the cool thing about that, unless they changed it, basically anything that I say in this video might be subject to change, so let's keep that in mind. But basically, you can carry the stacking that you did in a previous phase to the next phase when you transition. So maybe you want to use bounty hunters in a transitional period of the raid. Now moving into the next point about galactic heroes, so borrowing from the concept of territory battles, how there are heroes and they get special bonuses as well. So basically the rebel scumbag, Jedi scum heroes of the movies end up getting buffs. So scumbag Commander Luke and Anakin and Yoda and Jedi Training Rey, all these guys are going to have several buffs in the Sith raid. So I guess that's cool for them. I guess that means all of us need to maybe collect them, I suppose. But yeah, they're going to have some buffs in the Sith raid. And lastly, we have a role, which is interesting. This has never been done before, healer. So healers that have that tag on them in the game are going to basically have a buff that gives them huge flat health bonuses, which is good because healers kind of synergize with their own maximum health most of the time. And they're going to have tenacity, and if someone on the team heals to full, they're going to have some healing over time buff synergy, I think. So one other thing to add here is Luminara is being given the tag healer, so she doesn't have that tag yet, but she will. So Luminara will be a healer that has basically a buff in the Sith raid, and Visas Mar, the newest healer that's being added to the game, is a light side healer, so she's going to be pretty good and getting a bonus in that regard. And then on top of that, we have Jedi Counselor or Counselor, shoot, I don't know how to say that, Barasafi, Old Daka, Jawa Engineer, Tusken Sherman. Oh gosh, it's getting late here. Ewok Elder, Talia, and all these guys are going to have the healer tag, and so they're going to get bonuses in the Sith raid. So now let's move into the phase ability. So like I mentioned before, there is no escape button anymore. That button is still there, but it's been replaced by specific phase abilities. Each phase has its own ability, and for phase 1, when you're facing against Darth Nihilus and the Sith Assassins, you get the Unbreakable Will ability. So this is it right here. You gain Unbreakable Will for 1 turn, and this unit may only use the ability once. But you can get additional uses basically by defeating menacing enemies. So when you use it, you can't be reduced below 1 health. They must be targeting that unit by their attacks. The speed of the unit is reduced by 10%, but the turn meter cannot be modified, and the ability only lasts 1 turn. So you can have multiple characters that have Unbreakable Will on them. And also in this phase, Nihilus is going to gain speed and tenacity whenever he takes damage until his next turn. Now in phase 2, you face Darth Sion and a Sith Marauder and some other guys, and the special ability, the phase ability for phase 2 is called Soothe. So it reads, remove all stacks of Cycle of Pain and Cycle of Suffering from this unit. So there's going to be some Cycle of Pain and Suffering mechanics in the phase, and the only way to remove it, to cleanse it, is by using this phase ability. You cannot cleanse with a normal character that would typically cleanse, like Rex or Chirrut or Chirrut. You have to use Soothe. So Soothe definitely has the shortest description out of all the phase abilities, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's the easiest to use, or to, easiest to use efficiently, I suppose. So kind of don't underestimate the difficulty of the Sith raid. I really like the close quarters with Darth Sion in this phase. You're basically kind of really close to him, a little bit almost uncomfortable, which is cool. And we're showcasing some Night Sisters in this phase. Keep in mind that this is footage that was supplied to me. I did not record this. I didn't theorycraft any of the teams, so just kind of ignore that. Focus on who we're facing, which is the Sith Triumvirate. Now the phase 3 special ability is called Stand Alone. So it reads, face Darth Traya without relying on others for 3 turns.
this unit takes 50% less damage, and all other allies become suppressed for 3 turns. Suppressed allies grant this unit a portion of their base stats based on their rolls. And continuing on with standalone, so the stats given to suppressed allies are going to be as follows: tanks 100% tenacity, attackers 100% offense, supports or healers 100% maximum health, and activating standalone is also going to remove all stacks of bonds of weakness from Darth Traya, and I think she collects bonds of weakness stacks when you attack her. So this ability can only be used by each unit once. So in phase 3, when you're facing Darth Traya, this is going to be a little bit familiar to some of the players. Just like in the tank raid, how there was the main hull and the side turrets, in phase 3, Darth Traya is kind of like the main hull of the tank, and the side turrets are her lightsabers. That's right, her lightsabers can gain buffs, and they have their own turn meter and everything, and you can attack the lightsabers, and if you can take all of them out, you kind of have a similar topple effect in the phase. So now that we talked a little bit about the first 3 phases, let's kind of briefly talk about phase 4. There's not too much to talk about. I don't have specific footage of phase 4, but I do know what occurs. So behind Darth Traya, there's that sort of circular area there. So you're going to end up fighting the entire Sith Triumvirate. You're going to face Traya, Sion, and Nihilus all at once, and you're going to have your own specific phase ability, but it is unknown. So they're giving us something to basically have to discover on our own. Alright, so that's all she wrote, so I'm going to quickly wrap up here. So we covered a bunch of topics. We talked about Sith Raid basics, and we talked about bonuses for factions and classes and heroes and all that in the raid. We also looked at footage and the special abilities of the first 3 phases, 1, 2, and 3, and then talked a little bit about phase 4. I want to get you some footage of phase 4 when I can. I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and if you did, if you learned anything new, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot, and I look forward to producing a lot more Sith Raid content. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.